Fathers can be very protective of their daughters. While they toughen their sons up, they often fuss over their little girls. It can be a minor crisis when a daughter goes off to college and transforms from a little girl into a young woman. At college, she is exposed to many different types of people, which is necessary for her growth. But to a protective dad, it may feel like the loss of innocence. The psyche is very powerful. I wasn't kidding when I said that in my atheist Bible study video. It is powerful enough to project images onto the physical world. Kinda makes me wonder whether the things we perceive as objects are not just collectively projected images that to our senses seem solid. I believe that the psyche, under direction from the inner being, thrusts off beliefs and projects them out into the world and waits for feedback. It is essentially a nurturing, maternal relationship between us and the conscious universe. Think of how a mother makes faces to her infant, and the infant mimics the faces back to its mother, but adds an additional expression, which the mother then mimics back to the infant, adding an additional expression, and so on. It is a guttural kind of communication. The mother instinctively creates a feedback loop with her infant that facilitates its development. I believe the conscious universe does the same with us. We project our thoughts. They are reflected back to us, +1. We mimic the reflection, +1, adding our own new expression, and so on. Whenever we are feeling powerful emotions, or distress, or worry, or we need an answer to a deep question, I believe dramatic projections of images can occur. Now you might choose to interpret that conscious universe as a deity, the one described in your Bible. It is your privilege to do so. The psyche speaks in metaphorical language. It uses puns, clever twists, and amusing turns of phrase to communicate with us. And what portrays lost innocence more than the image of a little girl? That is despite what pop culture horror movies tries to tell us, that little girls can be maniacal villains. The faded quality of the entity you saw implies the fading away of innocence as perceived by you. It is also a signal that this is a projection, not an actual person. The inner being attempts to make us aware of our deepest emotions, so we can come to terms with them consciously. It attempts to thrust off false beliefs that cause us distress. The truth is that innocence hasn't been lost. The little girl is not lost. She has transformed to a young woman. A similar thing happens when we dream. Symbols are projected into the mind, and to understand the messages, you must interpret the symbols. The inner being uses an emotional language, however, which is why psychologists say to pay special attention to not only what we see in a dream, but to what we feel. What emotion did you feel as you looked at the little girl? If you had not been awake at the time you saw the ghost, and you had dreamt about a little girl instead, you might have interpreted the meaning differently, or maybe even dismissed the dream as meaningless. Make no mistake, the ghost was real. It is a construct of your beliefs and emotions, a message from you to you, which is why no one else saw it. The demon interpretation sets you up in opposition to forces that you believe are malevolent. If I may be so presumptuous to suggest, that is an undesirable state of affairs. My interpretation of your waking dream is only an offering, though. A little less macho, a little more compassionate maybe, but ultimately only an offering. Thanks for listening.